good morning, everybody, and good evening. Thank you very much. I'm so glad you guys are all joining us today. My name is Joyce, and today I am very excited. I've been doing this conversation, leadership conversations with one of the best leaders out here, especially in the NGO community. I think it's so important to at least check in with the leaders as well, because they have really been in the forefront. So today I'm actually joined by Jeanne, who is the president and CEO of Internews. And how are you doing, Jeanne?
I'm good, Joyce. It's so great to see you, and I really look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm actually really, really excited, and I'm gonna kick this off like I always do with some introductions. You know, my name is Joyce, again, Weru, and I am the founder. I'm also a leadership executive coach at Rise Above Coaching. And again, today I'm joined with Jeanne, who is the president and CEO of Internews. And Internews, you know, she obviously leads the strategic and management of Internews and its programs in more than 80 of its countries. During her tenure at Internews, she has piloted and developed innovative programs, including like the Earth Journalism Network, United for News, and the Listening of Post Collective. Obviously, prior to Internews, she worked for USAID, the U.S. Agency of International Development. Jeanne has consulted on international program designs, evaluation for like the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and the Research Triangle Institute, and among others as well. She currently serves on the Media of Entertainment and Information Industry Steering Committee for the World Economic Forum and the Steering Committee for the Global Forum for Media Development. And I'm really excited because she really speaks on issues of global news, women's media leadership, information technology, participatory community development worldwide. And this is why today I'm actually very honored to be doing this with you. So Jeanne, maybe you could give us a little bit a background about, you know, Internews.
I'd always love to talk about Internews.
Yeah.
We are an international nonprofit, as you mentioned. We've been working for nearly 40 years and in over 120 countries in our history. And all of our work is based on the belief that people, everyone everywhere deserves the type of information, local news and information they need to make good choices for their families, to participate in their communities, and to hold their governments to account. Our programs emphasize places where this type of news information struggles to exist. And so we've been working for the last nearly 40 years to really build the capacity of local organizations, local news outlets, local communicators, so that they can provide build the healthier information environments that everyone in the world deserves at this point.
Yeah, wow, yeah, that is great. And that's why actually today I'm doing this with you, because I know how critical information is. I think even one of your strategies, you said information is just as important as the air we breathe today, you know, because really a lot of people make decisions based on that, you know. And even as a coach, I mean, and I'm talking to leaders like you just to obviously showcase, like, again, you know, how things have changed. We have two major movements happening right now, right? And then and I mean, and we got the news going on, and I think we know how critical that information is, right? So, you know, having that, what are some of the lessons, I think, from your industry? Because you guys, again, you bring information to people so they can make decisions. What has been the lesson for you during this crisis, both the COVID and also what's going on right now with the Black Lives Movement?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And when COVID first hit, we viewed it a little bit, and this is back in January, February, we viewed it almost like programmatically, that we have over the years, because we know that information is a root solution to a lot of the problems facing the world, as you mentioned, we've had a very deep programmatic effort when it comes to health information. We've dealt with the Ebola crisis, we've dealt with HIV/AIDS, we've dealt with the avian influenza. And so when COVID first hit, particularly in Asia, we viewed it similarly. It's like, okay, we've got this. We know how to handle this. We can go help our media partners across Asia who are grappling with it right now to better understand the science. And then, but suddenly when it hit home, when it became a pandemic, when we realized the operations across the world, our operations across the world were going to be fundamentally affected, it was a shock. I mean, we just have rarely had something that we work on so carefully and so thoughtfully in our program work suddenly also affect our operations. And I would say both Black Lives Matter and COVID are similar that way, because with Black Lives Matter, both we have always believed in the inclusion of everyone in the content and information that is produced, as well as the ability to access that content. But suddenly, we need to look at ourselves a little bit more, sort of affect how are we individually, internally as an organization, addressing these critical issues as well. So for both COVID and Black Lives Matter, it had that sudden switch of the light from our work to ourselves, and we needed to be able to stand up to that.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good highlight that you mentioned that, and I know a lot of your programs or what you have done, you know, like you just said, that you have to look at the individual and how we can contribute to that, you know,
Yeah.
and because of, you know, given the power of information, right? What do you think the opportunity is here for, for people,
Yeah.
like for individuals, like you mentioned, you know?
Well, it's a giant opportunity in a couple of ways. I mean, I think, again, the power of information to change lives, to transform lives, is obvious and evident in everything that we've done and over our histories. Suddenly, so many more people are demanding the ability to communicate. So many more people are demanding the need for this good information. And so it's making the case really clearly about the power and potential of information to affect change, because the demand is there and the clear need is there. With the COVID crisis, every single person on this planet, one of the first things you do is look at your phone to see what the caseload is. You look at your local news to sort of see what's going on, so that it never has the case for the importance of this been as easy to understand, because there's not a person on the planet who isn't experiencing that urgent need for good information in light of COVID.
Yeah, and that's what you know, and that's, I think, even when I read your page, you know, you talk about how you guys are so agile and covering the pressing issues, and part of that too is listening, you know, and also, like you just said, in building this partnership so that we could continue to provide the good information that you guys are doing. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and from that perspective, you know, what are some of, from your perspective, like what are some of the self-awareness that you have learned? Because I know you have, again, this is nothing new to you, for you all, and you all have covered this for a long time, you know, since Internews existed. You do it on a global aspect, you know, but it feels, you know, it feels so big for people right now, right? That's how
Mm-hmm.
it feels
Mm-hmm.
for people. So even from you as a leader, what are some of the self-awarenesses that you have kind
Yeah.
of developed for yourself that you've
And
learned?
my answer gets a little bit at that same sort of looking at, we've got this big solution out there, but then we have to reflect more on our organization. I think
Mm-hmm.
as a leader, what I've really been struck by is the deeply personal aspects of these two crises / opportunities. These are deeply personal and affect people both. Everybody is affected by both the Black Lives Matter movement as well as COVID in deeply personal ways, and that we need to, as a leader, remember that, right? With COVID, we know that my colleagues who have children that are younger than mine are much more stressed than I am when it comes to sort of the balance at the home front, right? My young colleagues who are out marching every week in Washington, D.C., and I'm not based in Washington, are so much more deeply and daily confronted with Black Lives Matter and the passion of that movement. And I think we just can't separate out anymore the personal from the professional, from the programmatic or mission. And so for us at Internews, it goes from mission all the way to what we personally are grappling with. And that's a big, that was a big lesson for me. It's just we have to include the personal in the bucket of things that we think about and as we plan our work. Not just our operations, not just our programs, not just our mission, but each individual employee that I'm working with, each individual partner that I'm working with has their own personal life story that needs to be included in that equation for how we sort of position ourselves for success.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And you know, even for myself, like you just said, I think we never thought that we will share this much personal space with
Yeah.
the kind of work that we
Right.
do.
Look where you are, look where I am, right? Yes.
You know, and
Working from home.
yeah, we are all working from home. And you know, and I think, you know, what is so powerful is exactly what, you know, Internews does is, you know, ensuring that, you know, the information that is being done out there is like you just said, it's very valuable because as you see, we have, we can't go out as much as we used to, and you are right, like we're depending on your phone, we're depending on, hearing what we're hearing in the news and kind of reading, so people can figure out, okay, what role am I going to play here, and again, I've been doing these conversations because I think we really have to shine light on the leaders who have been really in the front line of this. You guys are, as you mentioned, you're not just worried about your stakeholders, yourself, you got families as well. But I think the work that you all have done has been remarkable. So, what piece of advice would you have, especially in the, what advice would you have for the leaders as we move forward, as we look forward to this?
In our conversations before this, you stressed a little bit about sort of the need for optimism. And I mean, there's some really tough things happening in the world, but I am a firm believer in the inherent good in people and the inherent good possible in our communities and in society, and that we just can't let that go. Again, there are really tough things that we're grappling with, but we are learning new things too. I mean, people like you and I are reconnecting, and to think about all those new connections you're able to make in different ways. Yeah. There are, even as we work in the remote work style that we are, I actually am seeing colleagues in a really different way. I'm seeing so many of them that I don't even interact with at video conferences, that I wouldn't have an opportunity. We've all become equal. We're all equally faces on our screens. And it doesn't matter whether you're based in London or Bangkok or Arcata, California or Washington, D.C., when we come up together on this platform, we're all in the room together. And those types of good things that come out of this, and sort of these interesting, good parts of this, I think that we just need to remember and hold tight and dear, and not forget when we get through the COVID crisis in particular.
Yeah, and I love what you said is not forgetting, what we have learned from this, and I think I totally agree with the connection that people are making, which is not even face to face, but just even this,
Right.
And you could, like you just said, you could really, the reach of what you could do is so much bigger. And thank God to like these platforms, that we're using today.
Right.
So,
right. I know we're all tired of these platforms too, and it is exhausting. And just to recognize that too, that it's not easy. It's just, and it's varied, but it's very different. So find the goodness in the difference, right?
Yeah, I know people are debating whether to turn the video off, turn the video on, but I think it's been really good. So as as we are wrapping up, and if you were to wear your communication hat, what emerges for you? Like, what emerges for you as we look forward now?
Yeah, I just want the world to know we've got this. We can do this. If we do the right things and do them together and respect each other and respect the things that we need to do, we've got this and we will get through it. That's my number one message of all.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. And that's a good message for people to remember this. And I mean, you touched on really good points, the connection piece. And like you just said, holding on to the fact that we are all going to get through this is very important. And that's why, again, I wanted to, I think what really resonates with me is, the kind of work that we all have done on especially for NGOs on a global perspective. This is kind of where our heart is. We go to these countries and we try to bring the same type of awareness, the same type of light to the people whose stories really need to be heard. And I think what it is the voices. You guys are bringing people's voices through the kind of work that you all do. And I think that is really remarkable, and even to have this, talk with you this morning, and to hear some of the insights that you've provided, that's really powerful. So, and I really appreciate that.
Can I just jump in and just say that I do feel very fortunate that working in the space that we do, knowing that every day, because there's only two solutions to COVID. One is the medical solution and the other one is the information solution. And waking up every morning and knowing that I can spend my day combating this, fighting this pandemic, because we're trying to bring the information solutions to people all over the world. it makes this very, very difficult time so much easier to know that that's what we're doing, that we have a solution to this. And I feel grateful. I feel grateful to be involved in the international space. I feel grateful to be involved with an organization with the mission that we have. And so that helps tremendously deal with what will be remembered as one of the most stressful years of any of our adult lives with 2020. And so I just feel very grateful. And I feel grateful to you, Joyce, for having this conversation with me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And thank you for your time. And, and I hope, I'm saying, like I said, I'm looking forward to things kind of maybe not even normal. Like we said, this is like the new normal. So we got to embrace it, but making the best out of it, and like not forgetting, as you mentioned, what all the good things that have come out of this. So, and that is very, very special. So thank you so much. And I hope that we'll get to see, have coffee or something.
That would be lovely. I look forward to that.
To DC. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Joyce. I appreciate it.
You too. Have a good one.